Thomas Partey cost Arsenal £45 million in 2020 and arrived with a reputation as one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. But it's becoming increasingly clear that with the addition of Declan Rice, the record signing at £105 million, many Arsenal faithful believe Partey's services would not be needed anymore at Arsenal. 3 Saudi Arabian clubs are said to be keen on signing the Arsenal midfielder Partey during this transfer window, and Arsenal seem to be open to sell as they make a midfield shake-up in North London. With the introduction of left-sided Kai Havertz from next-door neighbours Chelsea at £65 million, together with West Ham captain Declan Rice at £105 million, many Arsenal faithful believe Thomas Partey is currently surplus for the club. It's claimed the Saudi trio Al Nassr, Al Ahly and Al Khalija all keen on the Ghana international, who will be in his final 2 years of the contract. The 30-year-old had enjoyed an excellent 2022-23 campaign before a major drop in form which happened together with the rest of his teammates also faltering as Arsenal lost their 5-point lead at the top of the Premier League table. Eventually, Manchester City won the league title and Partey was dropped for the final matches, with January signing Jorginho taking his place in starting lineup. He received considerable criticism for his disappointing end to the season. Gary Neville, a Manchester United legend and Sky Sports pundit, said he has been in a shadow of himself in the last few weeks. He has been nowhere near it. A large part of the season he has been in fantastic form and composure. All these have deserted him at the most vital time. Now, I'll start with what are some of the reasons as to why Arsenal might not need Partey. To many Arsenal fans, they believe he is needed in that Arsenal midfield. Today, I'll start. This is part 1 of whether he is needed or not. So I'll start with the side and the reasons as to why he could not be needed in that Arsenal midfield. From a footballing side of things, Partey hasn't demonstrated the consistency that Arsenal need to truly challenge for the title. When he is on form, he is one of the best defensive midfielders, perhaps in the world, but for 2 years running he has been broken down, slowed down during the stretch when Arsenal needed him the most. As Arteta's starting 11 from last season, most of the players were 26 and under. Only Xhaka and Partey were over 30. The current signings in Declan Rice and Havertz are all fit and younger. Moving on from a veteran midfield is seeming to be Arteta's goal, hoping the youth movement at Arsenal will be a success. That would literally mean, in terms of age, him being over 30 years old, Arteta could be moving on to younger players into the midfield. Partey is an African. He is 30. I'm an African. I know how sports people in Africa knock off a couple of years to prolong their playing time. Partey is undoubtedly more than 30 years old. Now, the other factor as to why Partey would not be needed in that Arsenal midfield is the introduction of Jorginho. Jorginho has a lot of experience. He came from Chelsea in the January France transfer. He came as cover for Thomas Partey. He was a big part of Chelsea's team that won the Champions League, a big part of the Italy team that won the UEFA Euro League. And he has this winning mentality in him, and he has this other extra thing of converting penalties. So with him in that midfield, we saw how useful he was towards the end of last season when he was starting in the place of Thomas Partey. The introduction of Declan Rice, a younger version, is only 24 years old, came in with £105 million to his name. He has played for West Ham for a probably a long time. He was a starter, he has leadership, he's good in tackles, the way he carries the ball, he gives you a couple of goals once in a while, and is defensive, and he anchors that midfield very well. With his introduction, I would believe, just like many other Arsenal fans, that him being in that midfield would literally mean Partey is surplus. I would also talk about his salary. He signed a 5-year contract which is worth over 52 million, earning around 200, between a range of 200,000 per week, over 10 million pounds per year. And with the introduction of many other players who are earning in that range, if he is let go, this would create a salary cap space for Arsenal. We also have another player who could probably cover up in that midfield in the names of Mohamed Elneny. He's the longest serving player in Arsenal currently. He received little playing time, but every time he steps on the pitch, he really plays his heart out. And I would say he's one of the players who could play that Partey role very well. Partey was one of Arteta's first signings at 45 million pounds from Atletico Madrid. In the 2022-2023 transfer season, it has seen Arsenal spend a lot of money, and so news of Partey's change of status has sparked interest from a number of clubs in Saudi Arabia, where Arsenal's £40 million valuation of Partey would not be a problem for them to pay. With his sale, Arsenal would have recovered some money in this transfer window, considering they have spent a lot of money. If in my next part, I'm going to talk about the reasons as to why Arsenal needs to keep Partey. They don't need to get rid of him. This is part 1 of the reasons as to why, even if they get rid of him, it would be an advantage for Arsenal. Now, my next part is going to talk about why they need to keep him at Arsenal.